You're listening to the Anxious Scholar Podcast, a podcast for anxious scholars. If you're a high school student who can't wait to go to university, but also is kind of overwhelmed with lots of unanswered questions like me, then you've definitely come to the right place. On this podcast, I sit down with EGM alumni while they share valuable advice from this exciting journey of theirs that we have yet to take. I really hope you'll enjoy this episode and learn lots of useful information about the college application process, unis, and higher education in general. So hi Alexander, how are you doing?
Great, how are you? Thanks for having me.
I'm doing great. Thank you for coming on the podcast. I'm really excited for our interview. I'm really excited to get your insight from a successful Harvard applicant. And I was thinking we could start by with you telling us a little bit about yourself and your background.
Sure. Well, my name is Alexandre Philippe Desan. I'm at EJM since 6th grade. I did my primary at a public school in France. I come from a very French family. Both my parents are French. And I have very few links with the US whatsoever. And I'm doing the OIB back. I took math, physics, and NSC, which I dropped in Terminal. I have been admitted to Harvard this year to the class of 2027. And I'm glad to be here to talk with you about it.
It must be surreal right now. What was your first reaction when you got the letter?
I'd say I was brutally happy. Because obviously the process of admission is quite long. We write all these essays and everything, and the decision just comes in one letter, one day. So it's very brutal, and in both ways. It can be brutally sad, I think, but in my case I was brutally happy. And you can't really realize it at first, but obviously it's pure happiness, sincerely.
Yeah, you don't believe it. Were you with your friends, with your family, or were you alone?
I was alone.
Really?
I woke up, yeah. I opened my email and saw the letter, and obviously ran to my family right after. But
that is crazy.
Alone.
I feel like I would open it myself because I'd be so scared of a rejection letter, and I'd be with my friends, and it would be yeah.
No, to be honest, I was just by myself, just waking up. I know many people stayed in the night to get it just when they received it. I just wanted to sleep, have a good night. And I had a happy morning.
Yeah, I can imagine a happy morning. Yeah. Did you open it with other universities or just?
Yeah, they just came all of them together for most of the US universities.
Yeah.
There was some disappointment, obviously. I did not get into everywhere.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter when you get such a good news right after.
Exactly. Could you tell us what other universities you you applied to?
In the US, there was mainly Princeton, Yale, Stanford, MIT, and Harvard, along with other safety choices. But I knew I wouldn't attend them even if I got in. And I also applied in France to a few universities, which I don't think I will be going to next year, obviously.
Well, can you give us an idea, even though you're not going to France?
In France, I applied to the Bachelor de Polytechnique, the Bachelor de Centrale, and I had the Prépa coming, but I don't care about the results.
Harvard is better.
Yeah.
And did you apply for the same kind of majors, or even if you didn't apply for majors, what kind of subjects were you going to study in those universities?
Yeah, well, in France, obviously, it's very scientific, very mathematical, etc. But the US, I think it's the main advantage of the US is that you can apply to the university in general. You don't have to choose a major. You can remain quite generalistic, I think, in your approach. Obviously, you will specialize after a year or two, but you get this really room for exploration in the first year, and I think that's very valuable. So in the US, I applied to the universities, sometimes the College of Engineering, but if I had the possibility to not choose and apply to the university at all, I would do that. And I did that for most of the unis in the US. Yeah,
it leaves you with more freedom, I think.
Yeah, and just room to explore and perhaps find out a new passion or just discover new subjects, because obviously they have so much more classes that we have in high school.
Is this what you would call a liberal arts college?
Yeah. I think what's great is that universities like Harvard and all the big ones have strong departments in math and science, obviously, but also very, very strong faculty, students, and departments in social sciences, in literature, in history. And that's really great because you get to take class from all of them and really get this holistic education, which I am looking for.
Yeah, that makes you a well-rounded student.
Yeah, I think it's really important to be a well-rounded human more than student.
Yeah, human, absolutely. Do you have an idea of what you would like to study in Harvard?
Not really. Again, I really want to let myself explore. I know I want to do some computer science, perhaps some artificial intelligence, etc. Obviously, keep this scientific approach and this scientific side. But again, I want to explore. Perhaps I'll do some sociology, perhaps some psychology. I really don't know. I'll see.
And realistically, when you come there in September, what do you start with? Like, what do you do the first thing? Like, you already have your classes, or can you go around campus choosing?
I don't know. I think I'll have a bit of exploration to do. The campus, it's huge, and we have some programs to get to know the people and the place and everything. I think I'll just let myself be surprised by what's coming and discover all these new opportunities.
Yeah, it sounds really exciting. I was thinking of going into some, I can call them burning questions. They're basically questions from our listeners from the podcast. And the first question I thought was really funny, and kind of I thought the reason why we're here to find out how did you do it. The question was just how.
Just how.
Yeah.
That's a great question. I wish I knew the answer to that one. I'd say I was genuine, true to myself. I did not do things, whether it's activities, extracurriculars and everything, because they would look good on my dossier, but just because I loved doing them and they were great to do and I was passionate about them. And I'd say that's the main advice I have to give, is just stay true to yourself. Don't try to guess what they want to hear, but focus more on like what you have to say and who you are really, because that's what matters at the end of the day. Whether you're admitted, whatever you do, stay true to yourself and do things that you love, because, well, don't lose time doing other things, obviously. So how? I'd say just be genuine. Obviously you have to work quite hard. It takes some time, it takes some efforts, and there's a bit of luck as well. So it's just a combination of you don't know really what. So I don't have a satisfaction answer to your question, but I'd say be genuine is definitely a great part of how.
And you mentioned being genuine, and I've heard people say, like people I've interviewed before, you know, it's more about finding a university that fits with you and finding a university for yourself and not fitting into what they want. I think that's what you meant.
Yeah, I think obviously you would survive and thrive in most top universities. I think they're not that different from each other. But yeah, the second part of what you say is very true. You don't have to conform to a certain type, because they're not looking for a type, basically. They're looking for people who love what they do, who are passionate, who are hardworking, dedicated, and genuine. They're not looking for a certain type of people or someone that checks all the boxes, because I don't think there are specific boxes to check, despite being passionate.
Yeah. And there's a question about this, which is, what was your story to make yourself a unique and strong applicant? So what was kind of like this genuine, sincere story of you?
Well, the story of a very French teenager who has, I'd say, the American dream, like many have, who likes to work hard at school, who likes to explore various subjects, obviously. I think my thing, and it was mentioned in my Common App essay, is the concept of Polymathy, which is basically the exploration of many diverse subjects at the same time. It's like being a well-rounded person, being a Renaissance man, as some call it. It's just not focusing, not getting too specialized too early, focusing on exploring and discovering things. But for me, that was, well, who I am and who I was in my essays. But there are no recipes, no formulas, and you just have to find what's true to you and what you want to say, basically.
And I think that really fits with kind of your profile, the fact that you're French, and I think it's a really big part of French culture of having this Concours Général and being a well-rounded person. I think that's, it might, obviously we have some ideas, but we can't know for sure, but I think that's what they might have liked about you.
And a lot of great French philosophers, mathematicians, etc., were great polymath as well.
Yeah.
Someone like Blaise Pascal explored mathematics, philosophy. He was at the forefront of so much domains at once. It's really impressive and really inspiring.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful to, this idea that it's really holistic and it's about you as a person and your identity. But to get obviously this was kind of backed up by activities that you did, by projects that you had. And so someone's kind of, one of the people are asking what kind of stats, extracurriculars you had, and when did you start building your application? So those are two different questions, but we can start with kind of your extracurriculars.
My stats and activities, yeah. I had many activities, many diverse activities, to be honest, because I love to explore. I hate doing one thing and staying up to one project. I always looking everywhere at once. My activities I did, well, we have a whole side of it was just community service and engagement, whether it's through the peer leadership program at school, through the care committee, through even with my class being a delegate, etc., and other volunteering work that I did outside school. And there was another part about more fun things, more leisure activities, whether it was Club SosToMath that perhaps we'll mention, or other activities such as chess, even some poker, even some sports that I like to practice. So it's really a bunch of things that I'd say don't make much sense together, but that are what I love to do, and I think I insisted greatly on this desire of exploration that I had, and of discovering many new activities, people, theories, everything. Discovery is really important. I think it's my top passion, discovery.
Yeah.
And you want me to mention my stats? Yeah. I had, good grades at school, but I don't think that matters much because your grades are converted into the letters American system, and I think above 16 you get A+, so you don't need to worry much about getting too high above 16, although it's always good for the ego. But I got my SAT, I had 1570 at my SAT, with 800 in math and 770 in English. Obviously it was the hardest part for me. What stats can I give you? I got a good grade at my TOEFL. I don't think that matters much.
Yeah, but you need it.
Yeah, you need it. But
despite having a bilingual kind of curriculum.
Yeah, you need to take the TOEFL definitely for the US.
Okay.
Or the IELTS or another English proficiency test. But I don't think they look much at the grades you obtain at the end. I think that's quite it for the stats.
I have a question. Well, we'll talk about this later in the interview about this SATs. You said 1570 for the English part, or because that's the total is.
The total is 1570.
Oh, okay.
And the English I got 770, and in math I got 800.
Oh, okay. Okay. I wasn't familiar yet with like the separation of the two subjects, but we'll definitely talk about this. And the second part was, when did you start building your application?
Yeah.
Thinking about universities.
Yeah. I'd say I did not really build my application. I built myself and what I wanted to do, but I did not start doing activities for the application or anything like that. I started thinking about college, about the US, I think in 11th grade, the beginning of 11th grade, because obviously, you kind of see it coming a long way, and you just wonder what you want to do, where you want to go, etc. And I started, the whole process, I'd say, in spring of 11th grade, perhaps, just thinking about precise universities, starting to reflect on my essays, registering for the SAT, etc. I took the SAT prep in 11th grade, but I think you get to start really the admission and all the essays, etc. in spring. That's what worked for me, at least.
In the spring of première.
Yeah, in première.
And SAT prep you started in première, not earlier.
Première. No, in première, just in première. I studied it with our great teacher at school, and with Khan Academy as well. I think it's really useful resources, and took it in the summer of première, at the end of première.
And how did you manage to kind of combine this with all of your activities and your schoolwork during the year? Doing this alone independently is kind of difficult. How did you manage that?
I know we have very little free time with the OIB program, but I think it's just a question of will, of what you choose to dedicate time to. I think you can always find time for something that you love to do. And to be honest, I loved doing the SAT prep. It was like fun math for me, and like making progress in English, so it was great for me. I think you just find time where you need to, and I didn't think much about how I had to manage my time. I just did it without thinking that much.
Because it was a priority, yeah.
Yeah, it was just, I mean,
important.
I got attracted to all these activities, etc. So it was not an effort for me to dedicate time to them.
It was pleasure. You liked doing it.
Yeah. It was distraction from school, even, we could say.
Really?
Yeah.
That's nice. No, we'll talk about. I think it's important, to understand how to, stay motivated and how to manage your time and do those activities together. So I think that's good to mention. And a question this person was asking how many clubs were you the leader of? So that's, it's specific, but if you want to answer that, yeah.
We could say I was the leader of SosToMath.
Okay.
I was part of the senior peer leaders, which are leader of the peer leaders. I'm part of the care committee. I'm a care ambassador, but also part of the committee. And that's about it. I organized various volunteering activities with even like cake distributions to the Maison Jeanne Garnier, which is just a hospital in front of our school in the Avenue Milzola. But I was not. It's important to, I think, show them that you can be a leader and take on all these initiatives. But it's also important to show that you can work in a team. And in Seconde, I was part of the cinema club. At the time, it was directed by a real movie director and a French teacher. It was great. I didn't have any leadership role in that. I was just a member, and it's great also to know how to listen to others and to not only give orders but receive some and be a part of the team.
To know how to be in both positions, because it's important. A lot of people say to show leadership skills, but also to be able to be this person who's interested and wants to learn, despite not being able to be a leader necessarily. And you mentioned a lot of, like you said, different activities that might not make sense to people, because again, a lot of what you hear is that you have to have activities in one kind of field and idea. You have this one passion, and you have they're all kind of associated. And for you, it's not really the case. And you don't think it's you don't think it's kind of a disadvantage for you, and they don't necessarily want you to do the same stuff.
No, I think it worked for me because it's my personality to explore many fields at once. But I think it's totally fine if you're really focused on music, on math, on anything like that, and you just pursue in that way, and you know what you want to do basically. But for me, I don't think it was a disadvantage at all. I think it greatly, it gives great examples of how I apply this kind of polymath philosophy to my daily life. So I don't think it was at all a disadvantage.
Absolutely, it's good to see that there's you can have different profiles, and that's not going to be, like you said, a disadvantage for you.
No.
I was wondering, did you ever do instruments or play?
Yeah, I played the piano for 7 years, something like that.
Wow, okay.
And had to stop at the beginning of college, middle school, because I struggled to find time to really progress more and get better at it. But I want to start again. Hopefully I'll find some time for piano again anytime
During
soon.
Harvard, maybe?
Perhaps. Who knows?
Is that something you mentioned on the activities that you did? Because I've heard that you have the possibility to state 10 activities.
Yeah.
Yeah. So is that something you mentioned?
For the piano part, I don't even think so.
No.
Perhaps. I don't want. Again, it was a long time ago, and I don't remember all of them. I don't think piano was one of them because I did not much. Perhaps I did. I don't know. I'd have to check.
It's okay. No
I'll
problem.
give you
Of
a better
course, I
answer.
understand. And one person is wondering about your Common App and supplemental essays and what kind of tips you have for them. So what were yours? What were yours about?
Well, for the Common App essay, I think you have to kind of understand how they work, how American people write essays, how they see essays. For me, a great part of understanding this was just understanding how they want you to talk about a specific example, a specific story, an anecdote or something, and then get from this experience some great principles. For me, it was about polymathy, etc., that you can relate to and link to your life, etc. Because I think in the French way of things, you would firstly state a big principle and then give examples. But I think, I don't want to mistake anyone, but that in the US it's the opposite, and that you have to start with the anecdote. I think you just have to brainstorm some ideas, and some will like appear better than others to you, and I think ultimately you have to be the one who chooses which idea you want to talk about and write about something that you truly love, because it's important. And I think when you write about something you love, you're just better at writing and at speaking about it, and even discussing it later if you need to. And for the supplemental essays, go with your first instinct, because you have many questions. Some of them are quite straightforward, some of them are quite weird or quite
Creative.
original, creative. Just go with what like your first thought about what to answer. Obviously don't write well. Don't
but not overthink it.
But do not overthinking it. I think it's a great advice. Go with the flow, and you'll see there's no magic formula. They just write what you think, and for me it worked. It might work for you as well.
And there's a lot of essays that you have to do, like you mentioned, supplemental essays in addition to the Common App one. When did you start doing that?
The Common App or the supplemental essays?
Well, if I would say both. But if they're in different periods of time, you can definitely talk about that.
I think you start by your Common App essay, because that's the one you share with all universities. It's the one who perhaps is which is perhaps the most important. I started this one at the end of première. I started brainstorming, I think, before the vacations and just writing it, etc. The beginning of the vacations. And for the supplemental essays, I think I did them during summer. Because you write your Common App essay, and then for me, look at what each university requires for you to write. Some of them have quite long essays that they require you to write, and others are more chill about that, we could say. I wrote them during summer, to be honest. I had some time and I did that.
Some free time. And when do you get the questions that they have for you?
You can get them quite early, I think. You can definitely in spring.
Before summer?
Yeah, definitely in something like May of première. Perhaps even earlier, I don't know. I wasn't that much of an early bird for writing essays. I just went with the flow and it worked.
And in this case, what was you talked about having an anecdote, and that's something that Americans like. What was yours? You mentioned, this
Polymathy.
Yeah. But what was the anecdote, the story?
My essay was about how a game of chess I played was a random stranger in a park linked with the concept of polymathy. So I guess the anecdote was this game of chess, and how the game in itself was quite dull. Not exceptional, but then we had a great discussion that made me think and reflect about polymathy.
Interesting.
That was it.
I hope that gives people an idea of that. You can be really creative and think outside of the box. And one person is asking about how do you choose your teacher recommendations and who made yours?
My recommendations were made by Mrs. Dashlet, a mathematics professor, and Mrs. Hubert, French professor. Because obviously in première, French and math are important. Math are, you could argue, always important, but French in première is especially important because you have your bac de français to pass. I'd say choose teacher that you like and that like you back, and that in whose classes you tend to have good results, because obviously it's better if they say that you're a good student than a bad one. But then for me it was good to have one scientific teacher and one literature teacher, not two scientific teachers at least, because again, I'm not sure what I want to study next. Perhaps it will be math and science, perhaps it will be something completely different. And so for me it was good to have both sides and get this dual opinion of me in my letters.
Absolutely, and that emphasizes on this kind of holistic identity and profile.
Yeah.
And I was wondering if you have any tips on how to ask. Obviously, you have to, like you said, like the teacher and have a good relationship with them, and be a good student in their subject. But is there a specific way to make sure that they make a really good letter? Because I might not be sure, but you don't get to read it.
No, you don't get to read it. No. Perhaps I could now that it's finished. I don't know. I won't try, I think. I think something that was advised to me was to ask to the teacher, firstly, would you be comfortable writing me a good letter of recommendation? I don't know if I did that. I don't know if I asked that way. I think I just, well, obviously be polite, be respectful of their time, try to ask them in advance, obviously give them a long time to write it. You can ask them and like tell them that you can discuss the letter with you if they want to, but often they just know how to write the letters, and if you have a good relationship with them, it will be quite easy, I think.
Mm-hmm. And so in order to make sure that you, this teacher already knows you well enough to kind of understand you as a person, get to know you, and at the same time kind of do this early on to give them time, what time specifically?
I think I asked, we have a specific timeline given by a counselor to follow, and on this timeline there is a time to ask for recommendation. I think I followed it. It was sometime in première, but I couldn't tell you when exactly.
Okay. So you don't need to do it in advance or be the first one to...
Well, not obviously not like in the last month of your première year, but no, you don't. In première is really fine, I think.
It's not, you're not in a rush.
Yeah, you have time to worry about it.
And do you think it's really something that they consider? Does that make a big part of your application? You know, to have a impressive recommendation letter from your teacher?
I'd love to know, to be frank. I really don't know what they looked at. I think it's a component that, like many others, it's good to have a good letter, but it's not the most important thing. I think there are no most important things. It's just, obviously they look at it because they want to get a feeling of who you are in the classroom, but they also want to get the feeling of who you are in general outside the classroom. So it's important, but I don't know how much.
How much?
Yeah.
Okay. And you mentioned how it's, you know, like you had different teachers have your letters to show that you, like again, you have this well-rounded profile. And for example, for Spécialités, I wanted to know which one did you took in première and terminale.
I took math, physics, chimie, and NSC in première, and dropped NSC in terminale, keeping only math and physics, chimie.
Okay. So and is that considered like a higher level for universities in America and Harvard? How do they consider that, like your, like an IB, you know, your higher levels?
Yeah, I think, well, in terminale I also took math expert, the option, and I was doing even more math, preparing for the Concours Général. So there was a lot of math, but I think I don't think that they have this French vision that math and physics is like the way to go.
Yeah.
I think they're really open to any specialty that you take in the OIB program. Obviously, there are rigorous subjects, but you can strive in others, and they really like different types of profiles, I think.
And you mentioned the Concours Général. When did you? It's a kind of a national concours that you can pass in different subjects.
Yeah.
So not only math, and it can be very different. It can be French, it can be a language.
Yeah.
So did you do that in terminale?
Yeah, I did that only for math in terminale. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And when did you start studying, preparing for it?
Well, we had some. I mean, we were selected by our math teachers, and had some preparations twice a week for, like, starting in November or December, I think, and we passed it in March or April. In March, yeah, end of March.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we'll get exceptional results because, well, other high schools in Paris prepare it a lot harder than we did. But it was a great experience and a great, like, we were a small group of 10 students going to pass it together. It was just a great moment to really get your head into complex math. No, it was fun. It was quite fun.
If that's something you like, yeah, math.
Yeah.
Hard, complex
I'm a bit
math.
of a nerd sometimes as well, yeah.
No, I mean, if that's interesting to get people to really be passionate about different subjects, especially hard ones like math. Did you participate in any other competitions?
Yeah, in math especially, I participated in many Olympiads and competitions throughout my journey in primary and middle school and in high school. I didn't get any first places, to my great disappointment, but I got I think some good results, sometimes, not always, obviously. But yeah, I always loved comparing myself to others. I'm a quite competitive person, so it was great to partake in many of these competitions, whether it's math or mainly math, yeah.
So I can imagine this competitive spirit really helped you with the competition of Harvard. That only has like a 4% rate of acceptance.
Yeah,
So
perhaps, but they insist on how much it's a collaborative environment. So, I mean, I love to collaborate as well. I'm competitive, but I know and love to collaborate too. I'll see if it helps me during my time there. Obviously, it's, I believe, a great thing to have this desire to be the best generally, but it's not a major thing that you really need to have to get admitted.
And it doesn't mean you can't work with other people to strive for the best. And I think one of the ways you showed that and your kind of collaborative spirit is through your project, which is SosToMath, which is I mean, I think you can talk about it more than I know, but not only a club, but kind of like this platform, this this kind of this project that helps students in ways to become better at math, but also help with those who have maybe more struggles. So could you share with us more about this kind of journey that you had?
It's a great summary you did, but I think SosToMath is both our school math club and an online math club or website that you can visit at sostomath.com. And basically, our goal is to help people in math wherever they start from, whether it's people who kind of struggle with their classwork, with an exercise or something. Or people who are really good at math and who want to go even beyond what they do in class. I think we tend to focus, whether it's online or in our weekly in-person sessions at school. We tend to focus on math work that you would not do in class, because we don't want and we can't replace the teachers, obviously. But perhaps some more logical problems or some kind of part of geometry that we don't see in class, and just things that you would not see in your normal curriculum, so that it remains interesting for you. And just, we follow what the students want to do with the kids at SosToMath. They are the ones who did the sessions and our project.
And how did you find these people that worked with you on this project to create those problems to help students? I can imagine if you were kind of the creator, the founder, how did you find these people? How did you manage to kind of work in collaboration with them? Do you have any tips?
Well, SosToMath, I think I need to give you a bit of context to answer to this. SosToMath, like the idea emerged at the end of Première, in perhaps May or June of Première. And I just sat and looked around and wondered and saw that, people who loved math didn't really have a place to go to at school. Obviously you have math class and some math workshops to train, but they didn't have this sense of community that other clubs have and create. And so I thought it was a great opportunity to create something and to create a project, and if you could help others improve at math, it would be even better. And so I also realized quite early that I could not and would not be able to do that by myself, and that I needed a team. So I think quite quickly surrounded myself with 4 people. So we're like 5 real founders of SosToMath, which are amazing people. It's really a great team, and it was friends of mine, to be honest, people I knew, and I also knew their qualities and their hard work and dedication, and I think it's what made the project what it is today. And so we created all of the website, the kind of great mission of SosToMath, and all the text, all the promotion things, etc. During the summer, we put the project out on the day of the day back to school in September, and then we quickly recruited people to help us with social media and with article writing, because that's another thing we do. We write articles about math. There are new articles coming out each month that are great articles as well. And for this, we sought help to other classmates and people we knew who were down to help us and to participate in such great projects.
And how did you convince them to do this? Like, for example, not only the people you founded it with, because you had to share this idea you had and to kind of interest them in this project, but also the people that after you said you recruited during the year.
I mean, some of them were friends. Most of them were friends, so it's easier to convince a friend than a stranger. But I think you can do both. There was this part of like contract, where they would receive HSD hours, which are CAS hours basically, that you need to have if you want to have your high school diploma at the end of your terminal year.
Yeah.
But I think this is not sufficient if you want to have really engaged people and people who really want the best for the project. So I think I had to find people who wanted the best for the project and that writing like math articles would really interest, or that taking care of social media would not become a passion, but a great interest. And you have to find people who will really be engaged for the project and not for the benefit that they can get, whether it's HSD hours or everything.
Or, for example, mentioning it on their college application.
Yeah, some of them did. I hope they did. I think it's a great thing to mention. Obviously you get some benefits from participating, but I think the most important part again is to be engaged and to love what you're doing at SosToMath.
And so how do you think this project was perceived by admission officers, even though you can't know for sure? For example, this could really tell them a lot about you as an applicant, like your passion for math, your entrepreneurial skills, your involvement in the community, your will to help.
Yeah, again, I don't know. I'd really love to have their opinion on SosToMath. You mentioned great parts of what they could have seen in SosToMath. I think it showed that I had this will to, I wouldn't say innovate, but to create and to take initiative on fill in the blanks that there could be at school. Here, the lack of a math club. And it showed that I knew how to work in a team. I knew how to lead a team and to conduct a project to great success, if we could call it that way. I think what we achieved was quite satisfying. I mean, at least we're satisfied.
It's extremely popular around the school and for everyone. I mean, people. It's great because it's for everyone. People who are really good, people who struggle. It's really creates a community and kind of highlights the importance of math that everybody, I think, agrees in our school.
Yeah, and obviously want to go higher and farther with SosToMath, but I think in the terminal year, where you have quite little time, what we did for now was quite good, and we'll see what comes in for the future. Yeah.
In only 1 year, that's really impressive. I thought it was, you started earlier, but no. And for example, during your interviews, did they mention that? Did they ask you questions about the club?
Yeah, one thing you have to know about the interviews is that they don't know anything about you. They know your name, the school you come from, and that's it. They don't know anything you mentioned in your application, any academic subjects you took. They really don't know anything. And so they will ask about certain projects if you talk about these projects. But again, it's perhaps not, it's great to talk about it, and I talked about SosToMath in most of my interviews, I think, if not all. But then I already talked about that in my essays and in the other admission material that you submit. So you don't have to talk as much in detail as you did in your essay during the interview, because the admission officers that will review both the essay, the interview, and everything together will have these details in your essays. So you just perhaps give some detail about how, what you love and your future projects for SosToMath and for things you do. But yeah, it's definitely something to talk about, because it's something important, I'd say, about my academic journey at EJM and my personality. I mean, I love SosToMath. Yeah, I really do.
It's something you put a lot of work and hard work into. And I was thinking of talking more about this interview, and if you could give us an idea of more of what it is, because I've heard that it's not in the way that interviews are conducted in the UK, for example, where it's more academic, and it's even maybe not as considered in your application as other kind of factors like your essays or your SAT scores, but it's still important, to get to know the person from. I can imagine it's an alumni who talked with you. Yeah. So just give us an idea, if you could, of what it looks like when you talk about how important it is.
Yeah, it's very casual. There aren't any. A great thing to understand, and I think I perhaps took a bit of time to understand this was that the people interviewing you, the person interviewing you, because there's only one person, is trying to help you. They're not trying to test you, they're not trying to verify anything because they don't know anything about you, really. They're just trying to help you and to put your best foot forward in this process, try to get a sense of who you are in reality. I don't know how important is the interview in the whole process, but it's just perhaps a small touch that can give another perspective on you, or at least a perspective from someone they trust, which is an alumni of their university. So it's really, you get to talk about pretty much whatever you want. Obviously the interviewer will ask you questions about who you are at school, because they want to know that as well. They want this kind of context. And on who you are outside, what you do, what you're passionate about. But sometimes it gets quite philosophical. Sometimes you get to discuss your visions of life, of success, of many things. It really depends on how you, I think, turn the discussion. I think you can get pretty much a good hold of what you're talking about, and pretty much go wherever you want in the talk. So it's simply great to have this contact with an alumni, and it's a great exchange. Yeah,
and it gives them an idea of you as a human, and to be able to talk to you, because they don't get to have that in other factors of the application. And I was wondering, is there a way to prepare for it, or is there no need because it's just a conversation?
I think obviously it's better to think about it before. Do not go there without having thought about anything and just hands in your pockets. It won't do you any good. Yeah. But I'd say it's more important to focus and have, it's more important to have precise ideas than precise answers. Because if you, you could try to predict the questions you will be asked and try to come up with the best answer you can, but I don't think that's the best way, because it will, they will sense that you're not as genuine as you could be, and you will want to, say the perfect sentence that you prepared, even if it's not right to say it in this context. So I think it's just good to think about who you are, what you want to pursue at college, at university, and just get a sense of precisely why you want to go to this university, why you want to study this thing that you want to study, or why am I convinced that Polymathy is the best thing that you can embrace. It's good to have precise ideas, but again, I don't think that preparing questions, preparing answers is of any kind useful during this process, and it can perhaps even be harmful, I think.
Yeah. So you mentioned how you emphasize on how it's important to know what you want. Yeah. Is it important to show them that you really know their school?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't think so. I think they're not looking for someone who knows every tradition, every secrets of the university. I think I have many things left to discover about Harvard. I think I know very little. But it's great to show that you know perhaps the spirit of the school, even if it's hard. It's a very hard thing to get a sense of what's the spirit of the school. It's quite I mean, it's easier to say than to do it concretely, but it's good to have precise ideas on, perhaps a few things about the uni that seems great, or that you would love to be engaged with, whether it's a great professor, a great research opportunity, a great class, a great club. There are many things about a university that couldn't be attractive. So I think it's good to have some elements of why you want to go there, but obviously you don't need to learn the years of creation and I don't think it's any
necessary.
It will make you lose time essentially to learn all the details, I think.
Yeah, but it's obviously necessary to know why you need the school in order to achieve what you want. So that's one thing that's important. But obviously, like you said, why know when it was created, or information like this. And one of the ways that you could find out more about the school is visit it. Was that your case for Harvard or other universities?
Yeah, I visited Harvard twice actually in 2 last summers. First time quite by not by accident, but not on purpose. I was just in Boston at the time and just to visit. Second time I did what we call a college tour in the US, visiting a few universities on the East and West Coast. And I think it's a great way. I mean, you won't learn that much about the life of students because usually you visit during summer, so there aren't any students on campus. But you will learn, you will get a sense of the vibe going on at the university, and I think it's very important. For me, it was actually there were places where I could see myself going to, and others in which I really could not. So it's great to visit. Perhaps the best way to learn about the university is just to see it in real life, because they have many resources there in the admission office, whether it's like prospectus and brochure that you can take and read, and they have plenty of info there, and you just get a sense of what it's like to live on campus. It's really important. But I think if you can't visit in person, which is perhaps the case of many people, they have great opportunities to visit online now. You can do these virtual tours, which are great. Even if you go to the US and some universities don't have any available time slots for visiting when you're there, you can still take the virtual tour, and it's great. And the admission office's website have great resources. They often offer webinars, etc., for you to learn about the uni. So yeah, it's great to both visit and research a bit online with the university website, etc.
Yeah, to be able to visualize yourself there.
Yeah.
Some you talked about seeing yourself in the place. Some might even call it manifestation or something, but whatever works, I guess.
Yeah.
And for example, Harvard didn't have questions like why us, or those kind of essays. No.
Perhaps they did. I mean, in an essay, it's easier to answer in an essay than in an interview. Yeah. But I think in the interview, I didn't have any question about why Harvard, etc.
It might sound kind of stupid because why Harvard? I don't know, why not, I guess.
No, I think they really focus on who you are, and then they will see if you're a right match, and if the university is the right match for you. But in the essays, perhaps they did. Just say what you feel like saying and
be genuine.
Yeah, say what you think. I mean, you probably have good reasons of why Harvard, so just go on and tell them.
Yeah, absolutely. And right now it's almost the end of the year, and you're going to start in September, Harvard?
In late August.
Oh, late August. Okay, so even earlier. Is there preparations that you have to do right now?
We have to submit many forms, many housing forms, many academic forms, many medical clearances, etc. It's quite a long process, but I'm not going to complain. I feel very privileged to be able to complete the process. So
to do that for Harvard. Yeah. And so that's your summer of terminale. What about your summers of première or seconde? I've heard that it's very important how you spend your time during the summer because you have free time, and it's an opportunity to kind of search subjects that interest you or passions. And so was that the case for you? Maybe you did some internships or some academic programs.
Yeah, I think it's quite important that I believe it's important for them that you spend some time of your summer working on something that passionates you. For me, we built SosToMath during the summer. That was quite a thing. I also partook in many volleyball workshops. How do you call them? Weeks where you play volleyball, just camps, almost like volleyball camps. Because I don't have time to play volleyball during the year. So for me, summer is a time because you have more time in summer, and I love to play volleyball, and I want to keep on playing volleyball. But obviously I think the majority of my summers traveling, whether it's with friends or family. You can mention that as well. I think I mentioned that I love traveling and discovering new cultures, new places, new people. But yeah, it's perhaps important to have some projects during the summer. If you don't, it's not that much of a big deal. You can complete your projects during the year. But it's, summer is a great opportunity for you to complete your projects. And for internships, because that was part of the question, I did not do any during summers. I did one internship in my life, which was my second internship. And I don't even think I mentioned it in my application because it didn't. It was great. It was a great week, but yeah, I didn't have any reason to mention it that much.
Yeah.
It's not a major. I mean, it didn't require any effort on my side. It's not that impressive, I think.
There were other things to mention that are more important.
Perhaps,
Yeah.
arguably, yeah.
And but just to about this internship, do universities know the grade that you get for your presentation in your HAPA, or they don't consider?
If you talk about it, they do.
Okay.
I got the best thing you could get, I think. As long as you speak clearly and present clearly, you'll get the best thing that you can get. Again, it's people that want to help you that will assess you. If you talk about it, certainly you can talk about the mention you got at your presentation. If not, they won't, I think. I don't think it's on any bulletin or anything.
Oh, really? I thought it was. But
perhaps it is.
That's good to know.
I'm not a pro of bulletin for what I submitted.
Since they changed it, they kind of convert it to A's.
Perhaps they did. I don't know.
And what about summer programs at universities? There's Ivy League programs that you can do.
Yeah. I think I would have loved to do one, but kind of was late in, getting to know about it. And I was happy to have some free time during the summer and be able to complete projects at the speed at which I wanted to complete them. Because obviously the summer programs don't allow you to work until 5 a.m. on SosToMath if you need to, for example, or to spend the whole day playing volleyball. So I loved having some free time, but I think it's great to show engagement by attending one of these programs as well. It's just another opportunity to get engaged and to spend some good time, yeah.
And I know this is going back to the essay question, but I still wanted to know, obviously you talked about just, saying what you think and being truthful to yourself, but did you get any ideas of, how to write those essays? For example, in essay anthologies, you looked at essay examples?
Yeah, we had a booklet of previous essay that was compiled by our counselor, which I read, all of them, to get a sense of what an essay is. But I don't think they were particularly useful to me because, again, there's no precise formula. I don't think that you will get in by doing what the others have done before you. I found my thing, my essay, I was happy about it, but I did not get specific inspiration for any of the things I read.
Absolutely, but then it would be plagiarism, so that's a good thing. And I know you're not really sure what you want to study in university, but do you have an idea of what you want to do after your undergraduate, a job, even though you're not sure, but it's something you would like to do?
Yeah, not really, to be honest. I'd love to be surprised. We'd have to record another episode in 4 years. But I have this idea of life journey that I would love to create a company, a group, a startup, something like that, because it'd just be a way for me to keep on innovating and kind of be the only one responsible for my success. Obviously, many debate around this, but it'd be great to have this company created in 4 years. I don't know if that will be the time. I'm not looking to, I'm not on a specific path. I'm just exploring around and looking what comes at me and embracing what comes at me.
And you mentioned topics that interest you, like AI or computer science. What specifically kind of interests you in those? And for example, AI, it's such it's a topic that's relevant in society, very actual. And for example, what are your opinions on how we can use this to our advantage as humans?
Yeah, it has become quite popular lately. What fascinates me about AI is that we're, for the first time perhaps in history, inventing a new form of intelligence, a thing that surpass humans. Obviously, computers surpass humans in their calculation power, etc. But now we get a sense of creation that surpasses us, and that's both scary and exciting. I think there really are both sides. But what I love about AI is that it combines kind of this creative side, this technical side of coding, of math, etc., but also a more philosophical side, and you mentioned it, and why, like how we want to use it for the good, because obviously there are many good and many bad uses of AI today. I think we just need to keep a strong sense of morale and try to make efforts that like to control the technology that we create. But obviously, I believe in innovation, and I believe that progress is good for humanity. We just need to be careful and to stay humans in our relation with AI.
Despite the development, yeah.
Yeah.
And how do you think it could help us kind of in more specific ways? How would it be beneficial for us?
There are many ways. I'm thinking obviously of what's closest to me. I think we could implement AI in SosToMath. It could be great. We could have a kind of bot that chooses the best problem for you, or the best revision resource for you, or that, even gives you an answer to a math question that you have. That could be a great use of AI. Very close to me. But obviously we live with AI today without realizing it. It's in all our phones, it's in many of our applications, it's in many things. In the future, I think we have to make sure that AI doesn't replace us and doesn't replace our thinking capabilities, because even today, where we see AI as a creative thing, it still uses all the resources it has gathered. It certainly combines them in ways that are innovative to us, but it's still the resources that like people have produced. So the human side is extremely important, even though AI is great. So I think it could assist us in many tasks. I think we will see the replacement of like search engines such as Google, etc., by more AI-like engines, where you will ask like you do with ChatGPT, but it will be, I think, more developed. You ask a question directly, and just like instead of giving you a list of links, it gives you direct answers, which are like connected to actuality, etc., which today our AIs can't do. There are tons of uses, to be honest, and in all domains we have like potential uses of AI. So I really don't know. I'd love to see what everyone and what researchers come up with concerning new uses of AIs. Yeah, not a very precise answer, but I think there is no precise answer to
not very clear topic, and broad.
It's extremely broad. Yeah, you can use AI for pretty much anything you can think of. To be honest, it's amazing. The only limit is what we think of.
Yeah, and would you agree with, for example, Elon Musk's idea? His letter that calls to kind of pause and rethink this kind of like legal side and, like you said, human side, where so they don't take over kind of humans.
I think Musk's approach is quite paradoxical, because he at the same time signed this letter and created a new company to be a new competitor with OpenAI, which is a company behind ChatGPT. I don't know how much he is honest in his letter because of the fact that he created another company at the same time. I think it's right. He's right to say that we have to think about what we do with AI. I don't know if I would trust him as a person, but in what he said, I think he's not completely wrong, and I think we should take time, perhaps not stop our progress, because a letter won't make researchers stop working for 6 months, and many people today want to work in AI, so I don't think that it would help to stop them, and we should not stop them. I think we should continue to work and continue to innovate in this field, but we should do it while thinking about the human side of things, the legal side of things as well, because there are great legal concerns of who's responsible for what an AI produces, etc. So we should keep on thinking, but keep on innovating as well.
So it's definitely a great subject to study in university and definitely to work in. Absolutely. And to kind of not end, maybe not yet, our interview, but I was to kind of make a clôture on this idea of the application and the perfect kind of profile. What would you say is like a perfect kind of perfect Harvard profile for this university, because a lot of students are like excellent students that have amazing grades, so many extracurricular activities, and yet they might not get accepted, and sometimes it's hard to understand what they want.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, sure. I think there are tons of people who deserve to get in, and obviously very few who actually do. I think there's certainly a bit of luck in that as well, in the admission process, at least in some steps of the process. Again, I don't think there's a specific profile, a magic formula that you need to follow to get into Harvard. I think, being genuine can only help you, being following your passions, doing things that you love doing, because even if you don't get in ultimately, you will have spent time doing things you love. And I don't think that an admission decision says anything about who you are and how much you're worth as a person. I'd say follow your passion, trust yourself, be confident in your choices. I think it's really important to embrace the many things you can embrace and the many opportunities that you can have. Just look around and be open-minded, jump on opportunities as they come to you, and do what you love, and I hope you will get in, because I don't know how I did, to be honest. There's no magic formula. Everyone has its chance, truly.
Absolutely, it's beautiful words. I think it's great advice, and like you also talked to us about, hard work is really important in this. And for you, it's kind of like you said, natural, because you're passionate by these subjects. You want to learn. For you, it's a pleasure. So, but do you have more kind of specific tips on how to work? For example, give us an idea of a day you have, a day in your life as a high school student, for example, terminale.
Yeah. I think this whole academic side of your profile is perhaps the basis of your application. That many people who apply will have this. Yeah. So it's perhaps not will make you distinguish yourself and be different, but it's certainly a good thing to have, obviously, because the institution is academically of very high level. But a day in my life, they're all different, to be honest. I don't have any, some people have precise working methods, like the Pomodoro method of timing, time managing, etc. I don't believe in all of this. I believe in myself and my ability to complete work when I want to. I think it's important to just complete your work and go beyond your schoolwork, to be curious, remain curious. It's truly important to search and go explore beyond what the teachers teach you, because it's great, you must listen to them. They're great resources for learning, but there are other resources as well. And just try to use your time wisely. I think I lost a lot of time during my middle school years, especially. Not purely lost, but doing things that today don't matter at all to me, whether it's playing way too much video games, or it was great, it was fun, but it didn't have any purpose today, and it didn't serve me. It wasn't any useful to me. So try to make things that you find useful to you, that you love doing, and obviously, try to improve academically and as a person. It's great to be a well-rounded human. But I don't have any timetable of my days that you need to follow.
Waking up at 5 a.m, going to...
No, no, really not. Sometimes I wake up early, sometimes I wake up very late.
Yeah.
I'm a rational and rigorous person, but I like to live freely, and I like to explore. At the time, I took cold showers every day. I love that. Perhaps you can try. It's great, but I don't think that's...
don't hesitate to, those tips that...
No, but I don't think that's what got me in. I think it was just some craziness of me and things I love to do. I stopped. I think that hot showers are good. I have periods where I try different things. I think just try to have fun in what you do every day. Spend some good time. Because even if you don't get into the university you want to, you will have spent some good time, and that's a very valuable thing in life, to not lose your time and to follow your passion and do things you love. So be genuine, explore, be confident, don't feel ashamed of liking to take cold showers, for example, or playing, I don't know what game you play, be yourself and be confident in what you do, I think.
Yeah. And no need to stress, just enjoy this journey because,
I mean,
so matters.
being stressed and overwhelmed will serve you no purpose, to be honest. Okay. I mean, it's easier to say than to do it, but I know that I stress very little. Perhaps that's a good insight to share, because I'm just confident that it's not useful to stress. If I prepared for this exam, then I am prepared and I will succeed. If I did not, then I should have, and stressing won't help me, won't be any useful for me in passing the exam. So trust yourself. You're the best resource that you have. You don't need to stress. It's really not useful.
No, absolutely.
You'll be way better decontracted when you enter the exam room. And
confident.
Yeah, confident.
That you will succeed.
Yeah, things will happen. I mean, trust yourself. Yeah, things will happen the right way if you put in the right dedication and right work and right passion into them. So things will work out at the end, I think.
That's very inspirational words. But I definitely want to go back on this dilemma of like time, because for me I think it's an issue, and I think for a lot of people and also a cause of stress. Like it's true that you don't have a lot of time, and it's like you said, really important to manage it in order not to waste it. And do you have any tips on that, like how to be time efficient in your work?
Yeah, I think, well, first of all, you can apply some very simple rules, such as if you have a task to do that will take you no longer than 3 or 5 minutes to complete, then do it right away. You don't need to wait. You have 3 minutes or 5 minutes at almost every moment. You have this 5 minutes to complete this thing, and it will kind of like free you of thinking about it, because there's also like how much we think about things affect how efficient we are in completing our work. So I think the short thing that you have to do, just do them, and you'll be just more efficient that way. Apart from that, I think it's good to take some time to reflect. You don't need to like have a time where like this is a reflection time. No, you just need to, whether you're on a walk, in your bed at night, just think about how you allocate your time and how you want to allocate your time as well. And if you're satisfied or not with how you're living, etc. I think it's good to keep a good and healthy lifestyle. Get some sleep, eat well. It's very important. But do your work when you get it. I think wake up early in the weekends to do your homework, and then you have your afternoon free so often. Okay. I don't have any specific advice. I think you need to find what works for you and pursue in that way, I think. I don't have a divine parole. I'd love to.
You are a Harvard student after all, but of course you... but I think it gives a nice idea to how to manage your time and get some advice, because some people just need some, an idea of how to do it, and they'll succeed and maybe get into Harvard too. So for our listeners who might, have this dream of going to the same school as you, do you have some, last words, some piece of advice for them? Yeah,
trust yourself. If you have the ambition to go there, it's already a good first step. Be genuine, be hardworking, be passionate, and I think trusting yourself is perhaps the most important part of how I got in, perhaps, and how you should think about completing your journey. I think it's an important thing to tell to many high schoolers, which struggle in having confidence, etc. You can work on trusting yourself. You can just know that and look at how well things happen when you take the time to do it and when you work hard for them. And if you want to get into Harvard, apply. It's the best thing you can do. And again, be genuine, be confident. If you want to contact me, don't hesitate. I'll be happy to give you more advice if I can. But again, there's no magic formula. Find what works for you. And it's the best advice I can give, sincerely, is to find yourself and stay true to this oneself.
Well, thank you very much, Alexander, for sharing your experience with us and doing this interview with me. Congratulations on your acceptance to Harvard.
Thank you.
I hope that a lot of fun and exciting time is waiting for you there, and that you discover yourself like you want to, and find something interesting studies, and have a great time.
Yeah,
thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome.
Great.
Perfect. Thank you for tuning in on this episode of the Anxious Scholar podcast. See you in 2 weeks for the next interview, and don't miss out on any additional information on our Instagram @TheAnxiousScholar.